Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking a bit about 18 volt versus 40 volt. So I've been running the Makita 18 volt blade left brushless saw for quite a while. I'm actually on my second one of these. Really rate these. Recently I got the XGT 40 volt blade right, and then over the last week or so I've had a go with these two saws here. So one is the 185 rear handle saw and the other one is the 165 blade left top handle saw. So I'm just going to give a bit of a demo of all of these. So till about last week I've never actually used a rear handle saw before, and yeah, quite different to use. Weight wise, very much the same to the top handle 185. Feels a wee bit heavier. I think some of that is actually the big battery, but yeah, definitely a lot more control when you're doing ripping cuts. So first up, 18 volt. So just as a comparison, I've got a bit of retaining timber. There's a wee bit of moisture still left in this, so I'm just going to give it a shot with this. So first 18 volt. So that was struggling, so now the 40 volt. Big difference. So first up, we've got the Makita 18 volt DHS680Z. So this is my second one of these. Really good, reliable saw, and yeah, I do rate this. Massive upgrade from the brushed version that I had before that one. So this is the second one I've had of this. The last one had some issues on it after a number of years, and it was easy just to buy a new saw. So these, you can still buy these brand new for about $398 in New Zealand. So this is not by far the lightest saw, but weighing in at only 3.3 as a skin, it is nice to use, and it spins at about 5,000 RPM. And I won't really go over too much of this. A lot of people do know about this saw. So that's saw number one. So saw number two, Makita 40 volt 165 HSO 12GZ. So this is the 165 version of the one that I've just had before. A lot of people requested that to be a 40 volt saw, so they put the battery back up where it was. Most of the other 40 volt saws, you can see they've got them in different places. So this is quite a step up in price. So this at the moment in New Zealand is 638 just as a skin. It does spin slightly faster at 5,200 RPM. One thing I did notice is slightly smaller motor, nice rafter hook. They've also increased the angle from 45 to 50. Looks like they've actually moved this up as well, as sometimes on the 18 volt this had a tendency to work its way down and you had to adjust it. So very nice. Biggest change I've noticed with this is the 18 volt version weighed at 3.3. This one only weighs 2.5 kilos as a skin, making this saw a very lightweight saw. Obviously if you're putting a battery on it, it adds onto that, but if you're putting like a 2 amp or 2.5, this would make this a very nice light unit. One cool thing with this is it's got the 2 spots for the guides on it, so you can put the aftermarket track saw adapter on it. So not sure if anyone's seen one of these before, but you can attach one of these onto here like your 18 volt, attach it down there, and it allows this to be used on a track. I'll put a link in the description for one of these. I do have a track saw, but I did use one of these before I had a track saw and they work very well. Biggest thing with this is a bit hard to test it, but they do say that this has got 40% more cutting power than the 18 volt one. In the last couple of days I've been using it, definitely has got a lot more power, and I have been using it quite a bit. So yeah, it's very nice to use. Okay, next on the list, number 3. So we now have the Makita 40 volt HSOOG 3G. So this is a 185 saw. Actually, yeah, 185 to 90, so depending on the manufacturer of the blade, you can run a 190 or a 185. So this is a really good, powerful saw. It spins at 6,000 RPM, and these in New Zealand are selling for $629. These are quite a bit heavier, weighing at 4.1 kilos. The advantage with these is you can go to 56 degrees with also positive stops at 56, 45 and 22. This one isn't track compatible. Some of the ones have a slightly wider base and allowing to put a track compatible slot in there. Really nice adjustment here for your depth. So this is also AWS, as well as the previous one, which is also AWS. So most of the 40 volt saws have the battery on the side. Last but not least, so this is the beast that I've been really excited to get my hands on. So I've been using this for the last few days, and this is an absolute beast. So this is the RS001G 40 volt 185 rear handle saw. So this spins at 6,400 RPM. This is slightly heavier than the 185 that I was just showing before, so this weighs in at 4.3 kilo. This does have some power though, and they say it runs equivalent to 1400 watt corded saw. I haven't got a 1400 watt corded saw to compare it with, but yeah, I haven't had any issues with this. Really solid rafter hook over things, battery being quite center. Putting the battery in here keeps the saw really balanced. So at the moment this is only 547 in New Zealand. This is an absolute beast of a saw. So it goes around to 53 mil with also positive stops at 53, 22 and 45. Really easy adjustment of the depth of cut. Can't miss it, and it's going to be really easy to see. Good solid handle at the front, good solid handle at the back. It does seem quite unusual having a handle sort of at the back, so it goes more back to the old corded days, that the handle was sort of about here. This is a whole nother level. One thing I've found when you're ripping or even doing cross cuts, it's a lot easier to stay straight with this. Is basically gravity and just sheer moving forward keeps you in a straight line. So if you're doing a whole lot of ripping, I'd probably recommend one of these versus a top handle saw. A lot more control and just sheer power. So out of the 4 saws, if I had to pick 2, as I'd probably recommend 2, is with often if you're doing different jobs, it's handy to have a number of saws. I would go for the 165 40 volt, as this is really light for those small jobs or up on a roof. For bigger jobs, cutting a whole lot of joists, rafters on the ground, doing a whole lot of ripping, I wouldn't hesitate to go for this 185 rear handle saw, as with this is going to give you enough power to do exactly what you're needing to do.